Well, we'll see in the State of the Union tomorrow whether Joe Biden focuses much on China. He'll obviously have some big domestic issues he wants to highlight. Do you think that, can you tell us what issues you think he'll focus on and whether we'll get a sense from this address tomorrow as to whether or not he actually considers that he might run again?
You know, these State of the Union addresses have kind of become big, predictable jokes. A year ago, during his first State of the Union, Biden said to us all, "A year from now, your lives will be much better than they are today." Fast forward a year, this president has been completely defined by failures. I mean, look, Chris, let's just go over what's gone on during the last year. We have a totally open southern border with hundreds of thousands of illegals apprehended every single month. We had inflation hit a 40-year high while gas prices hit a record high. We had a baby formula shortage. The nation is now hit with, all of these problems given China, and we just had this balloon issue. The president, of course, is involved with this scandal involving his handling of classified documents, some of which were found in his Delaware home where his drug-addicted, corrupt son had been living for years. So are we better off now than we were a year ago? Absolutely not. But Biden will stand up there with a straight face and proudly say all of these lies, and every time he says a lie, the Democrats in the chamber will stand up and applaud like highly trained seals like they always do. So that's what I think is going to happen.
It is theatre.
I don't
there is so much theatre.
Announcements about next election cycle.
There is so much theatre in these things, as you say. But I notice new polls show that even most Democrats now say Joe Biden shouldn't run again. As you know, I mean, I've always thought this is a furphy. I just can't see there's any possibility of him running again.
Yeah, I just saw a poll before we went live that 71% of Americans think the country's going in the wrong direction. This is abysmal for the president. I even noticed it anecdotally. I live in a suburb of Houston, Texas, and a lot of the suburban people who proudly cast their vote for Biden last time around and told me how horrified and embarrassed they were over Trump are now awfully quiet when I ask them how they think Biden's doing and if the country's on the right track. So, Democrat voters are abandoning Biden. And I think Democrats in the Beltway understand that. So they want someone new. But it just brings me to that question, Chris. Who is that new Democrat? Who is going to lead the Democrats? Their bench is just not deep. There are no rising stars. So I just don't know who they would run.
It looks very thin indeed. But on the other side, the number of Republican contenders is starting to build. And there's a lot of speculation that the former governor of South Carolina, former US ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, might nominate soon. I'm a big fan of Nikki Haley's. I thought she did that job at the UN particularly well. Here's a little bit of her speaking about her life story almost 3 years ago at the Republican convention.
I am the proud daughter of Indian immigrants. They came to America and settled in a small southern town. My father wore a turban. My mother wore a sari. I was a brown girl in a black and white world. We faced discrimination and hardship, but my parents never gave in to grievance and hate. My mom built a successful business. My dad taught 30 years at a historically black college. And the people of South Carolina chose me as their first minority and first female governor.
Bit of identity politics coming in there, Kristin, but could the Republicans actually deliver the first female president?
I just don't think so. Look, I got a lot of respect for Nikki Haley, but first of all, it's a big mistake as a Republican to run on intersectionality. Republican voters generally, they don't care what color you are or what your background is. They just want someone who's going to deliver on with results. So I just don't think that's a smart move. I don't see her constituency outside of the Beltway. When you talk to conservative voters around the country, you don't hear many people saying, "Oh, I'm so excited about Nikki Haley." It's all about Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. So I think this is going to be a battle between those two men for the soul of the GOP. Look, Nikki Haley might surprise me. You never know. It's still very early. I just don't see it. And I think in the end, she'll probably end up pulling votes away from Ron DeSantis amongst voters who are looking for an alternative to Trump. So her entering the race is actually probably very helpful to Trump. But I just don't think her voter base is very big. She could surprise me. She could emerge as a real star, but I don't suspect she will.
A long way to go. Fascinating analysis as ever, Kristin. Talk to you next week.
Thank you very much, Chris.
I hope Nikki Haley does surprise everyone. We'll see. She's a pretty impressive woman.